In this video, we're gonna talk about defense irritating. So before starting this video, like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates. In one game, the Los Angeles Clippers were no match for Patrick Beverly, who played exceptionally well. It's possible that he exposed his prowess after the Timberwolves won the play-in game with a score of 109 for 105. Beverly, though, was able to demonstrate to us how athletes like himself can remain active in the NBA for a decade. Beverly is an irritant, a nuisance, and someone whose sole purpose on the basketball court is to annoy and get inside the head of his opponent. In other words, Beverly is someone who serves no other purpose on the court. He did all of that and more to the team that, after 4 years of service and following last year's run to the Western Conference Finals, he felt had disrespected him. Last night's game was an example of that. Beverly started talking as soon as he checked into this game against the Clippers, and he probably didn't stop until he went to bed very early this morning. The Clippers were the target of the Beverly's verbal assault. To a large extent, stat lines are not the best way to assess the value that players like Beverly brings to their respective teams. If you never sat through a Pat Beverly game in its entirety, you're undoubtedly perplexed as to why he is still playing in the league. In the play-in game against the Clippers, Beverly finished with 7 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Clippers were eliminated from the playoffs. However, where his influence was felt the most ways in this manner, in which he was able to pick on his former teammates from Los Angeles and force them out of their games. Pat Beverly brings both heart and intensity to the game. Plus, he's just plain unpleasant, as all get out to compete against. Beverly has never impressed anyone with his agility like LeBron James or his shooting like Steph Curry, but the intangible that he brings around with him can't be taught to anyone else. On the court, Beverly is a complete ass clown, and he routinely cranks up his annoying antics to 100. Beverly is comparable to players in the caliber of Lance Stephenson, Bruce Bowen, Dennis Rodman, and Draymond Green in my opinion. All of these players have a reputation for being strong defenders, but what sets them apart from other defensive-minded ballers is the head games that they play with their opponents. Beverly was on quest to defeat the Clippers, which he ultimately succeeded in doing. Pat Beverly spent the entire night being a pain in the ass, and he wouldn't have had it any other way. He was in between their ears the entire time. After the last buzzer of the fourth quarter, the shenanigans did not come to an end. Oh no. Beverly inspired the Timberwolves to win in the play-in game, and the team celebrated their success as if they had just won the NBA championship. Beverly then took off running across the floor before leaping onto the announcer's table, removing his jersey and tossing it into a crowd of the Timberwolves supporters. Was it a bit much? Yes, but it's precisely because he brings the kind of feeling and enthusiasm to the field that you have Patrick Beverly on your squad. You can't stand going up against players like these in a match, but you would give anything to have them on your side. I believe that every team requires an athlete of this caliber, someone who isn't hesitant to push the boundaries and go the additional mile to get the upper hand on their opponent. Even though Beverly had only 7 points to his name on the Tuesday night, the value of his defense, trash talking, and willingness to be passed cannot be overstated. Beverly provoked Marcus Morris Sr. into committing his second technical foul with his antics at one point, but the referee promptly reassembled and overturned the penalty because they understood Morris would have been disqualified had the charge stood as it was initially made. At first, there was gonna be a double technical foul, but in the end, just was called for the foul. That's kind of stuff that makes you want to have that player on your team. The only way to silence that someone is to soundly defeat them. But the Clippers were able to accomplish this goal on this particular evening. However, in order to compete against the Memphis Grizzlies, he would have to do so far a total of 7 games, The Grizzlies, like the Timberwolves, are mostly comprised of younger players and finished the season with 56 victories, good for the second best record in the league. Since the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies tied each other in their season series 2-2, I anticipate a competitive matchup that will go either 6 or 7 games, because it's likely that Beverly will spend a significant amount of time guarding Ja Morant. He will have to delve deep into his arsenal of strategies in order to throw a Ja off of his game. In an official press release, the Utah Jazz have confirmed that the trade that saw the Los Angeles Lakers send point guard Patrick Beverly to Utah in exchange for fourth-year guard Talon Horton-Tucker and journeyman forward Stanley Johnson has been finalized. The deal was brokered by the Utah Jazz. As SportsCenter correctly pointed out, the addition of the Beverly to the Los Angeles Lakers roster might make one particular current new teammate uncomfortable both on and off the court. During the 2021 and 2022 NBA season, the 6'1" Beverly started in the backcourt of the Minnesota Timberwolves alongside the 6'4" guard D'Angelo Russell, who is expected to be slotted in at the point against this year. The 6'1" Beverly could conceivably fulfill a similar role in the Los Angeles for the time being. Starting next to the 6'3" Russell Westbrook, Russell Westbrook is expected to be the starting point guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder this season. However, he won't. There's also the possibility that the starting point guard position will be open for contention at the team's training camp, which, if I may add, Beverly would end up winning. The feud between the two players goes back a long way, and they have continued to take jabs at each other both on and off the court at late this season. All of this originates from the time in a playoff game in 2013 when Westbrook, who was playing for Oklahoma City Thunder at the time, had a torn meniscus while being guarded by Beverly, who was playing for the Houston Rockets at that time. It's unlikely that there's been a pairing of players with such a long history of animosity towards one another since the Bad Boys period of the Detroit Pistons, when perhaps some of their players were recruited by the Chicago Bulls. Beverly tweeted his support for the Westbrook having a successful bounce-back season in 2022 and 2023, once he found out he would be playing for the Lakers today. It was a kind gesture, but it seems quite likely that the two won't be working together for much longer, which means that their rivalry will be able to pick up where it left off sooner rather than later. Westbrook is no longer a great on-court fit with a lot of players, but he especially makes very little sense in any lineup alongside the Beverly, who is a better option at point guard at this point, or James, who is much better ball handler and creator than Westbrook is at this point. Beverly and James are both better than Westbrook in both of these categories. Because of this, there are not a lot of minutes left over in which Westbrook could be useful, at the very least. Not before Beverly sustains an injury, as the 34 years old is prone to doing in the course of playing a specific style of the gritty defense. Fans of the Los Angeles Lakers may be wishing for the long-rumored trade that would send lottery picks and veterans Miles Turner and Buddy Hield to the Indiana Pacers in exchange for the Russell Westbrook. It would be a huge coup for LA, and it would be a far more talented combination of players than if Westbrook and Beverly were playing backcourt together. What do you think about this video? Do let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit the subscribe button before you go.